Just a warm welcome to everybody in the audience today. Lots of familiar names. We've got many of our donors, supporters in the audience today, so very pleased to have you with us. And warm welcome to the new faces in our audience. Lulu has just put a link to our newsletter in the chat. So for anybody who's new to the Saola Foundation, we would welcome you to sign up to our newsletter where you can stay abreast of all the incredible progress and announcements of winter seminars, etc. So I'll introduce our speaker today. So we're honored, she's a research associate with the Saola Foundation. Minh has dedicated years of her life, nearly a decade now, to pioneering research in Laos and in Vietnam, focused on the large-antlered Muntjac. So this is a species that was formally described to science just very recently in the early 1990s. And since over the last decade, Minh's dedicated research has really expanded our knowledge and understanding of this elusive species. So Minh's research, as you're going to find out, it's really at the forefront of innovative applied research aimed at developing tools that enhance the conservation of large-antlered muntjac. And Minh's research also has huge positive implications for other species facing similar threats, such as the Saola, our flagship species of the Saola Foundation. Now, Min's currently in her final year of her PhD at Colorado State University. Anybody who's going through this will know what Min's facing right now, and we're just so really grateful that she's taken the time out today to talk with us. So Min's going to talk for approximately 30 minutes, and we're going to have time for questions, discussion at the end. Put your questions in the chat at any time throughout the call, and Lulu will moderate those questions. So with that, I'm going to ask Minh to share her screen and pass over to start the session. Thank you. And just a reminder, Minh, to unmute your microphone.
Let me share. Oh, can you see my screen?
Yep, that's working great.
Oh, actually, let me try it again because I have to add the sound into it as well. Sorry.
No problem.
Sorry, there's so many technical things we always have to deal with. Okay, I'm here. Hello, everyone. My name is Minh, as Lauren already introduced. And for those of you who don't know me yet, I am a Vietnamese person who always loved to be a cartoon character, Tarzan, if I spell it right. I was born in a small hometown, just right next to the home of where the Large-antlered Muntjac is. And if you want me to show you a picture of who truly I am, this is actually one of my favorite pictures, because this showed me and reminded me of how happy I am when I was in the forest. I was able to learn about so many different life, different creatures, knowing that I'm not the only creatures on the earth. And with that, I can learn this story and tell you so many different stories of how this wonderful wildlife live. And hopefully, you will feel the same like me and join with me on the journey of protecting a wonderful biodiversity. I'm very happy to be here today to tell the story about the Large-antlered Muntjac, the species that I have been studying for over so many years. So in this story today, I will talk about the life of the Large-antlered Muntjac, how they live in the forest, what are the threats that they are facing, how we can look into a future where the species still survive with us, and which work have been done behind this story. When talking about these species, we're talking about a diversified world of more than 50 deer species across the continents, except the Antarctica and the Australia. Deers are hugely varied in size. They can be as big as a cow, like moose, or as small as a terrier, like southern poodle, the resident of the Southern America. Most of the deer species nowadays have undergone a major change by the evolution, making them look very different from the deer ancestor tens millions years ago. The deer ancestor featured a simple fork-like antler and carrying tusk. But we still found one group of deer species still resemble this early form of the deer ancestor. That's the Muntjac group. The Muntjac group have about 13 species in the world and distributed only in Asia. Among them all, Large-antlered Muntjac is the rarest. The Large-antlered Muntjac live in the dense tropical forests of the Annamite Mountain range, which run along the border of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Unlike other many deer species that live together in a group, Large-antlered Muntjac chose to live a solitary life. Many female Muntjac have their own home range and didn't overlap with each other. But the male Muntjac have a big home range across all the female Muntjac home range. This is how he can find a mate. But he needs to find his mate in this kind of condition where the tropical dense forest make it really hard to see anyone. The Muntjac have a very special technique to find its mate. That is scent marking. Each individual of Large-antlered Muntjac have many different glands, but two common ones that is often used to mark is the preorbital glands and the frontal gland. These glands are wide open before it inverted its head on the ground to mark its scent. This scent carries all the information about the territory and the breeding status of each individual. This female is ready to mate. And this male finally found his mate. However, he's not the only one who just arrived here. Further from the corner, there's another male, adult Muntjac, just arrived. The male have to fight to be able to get the chance to mate. The adult male can go through 3 different stages of growth of the throw for the antler. When the Large-antlered Muntjac in the hot antler is often being found in most of the times of the years. When this antler shed between mid-October and early December, it becomes antlerless. But very soon, the antler will roll back in the velvet form. And when the skin on the velvet antler ripping off, it comes back to the hard antler again. And this velvet form often found in the mid-November, between mid-November and the end of March. When the male Muntjac in the antlerless form or having no antler, it will be too weak and challenging to join a fight. This juvenile male in the velvet will quickly learn this lesson when it joins the fight with an adult male in the hard antler and very experienced. Another weapon that it can only depend on is the tusk. The winner gets the chance to mate. This female just had a newborn. She carefully removing all the odors still lingering on the body of the newborn. Seeing the animals, the newborn still being very weak and it's hard to follow its mom anywhere. It has to stay immobilized and hidden in the vegetation. The cleaning of the odors really helping is to stay away and not detected by the natural predators. This spotted coat also is a perfect camouflage that can hide it very well in the vegetation. The spotted fawn are often being found in the cooler time of the years between mid-August to the early March. And few months later, these spots will disappear. It will have the same color as its mom. The unspotted fawn were actually found in most of the months of the years, which indicating that the Large-antlered Muntjac have a very long extended breeding season, which is very different from other deer species who have a very specific and short breeding season. In this kind of habitat, fallen leaves from the shrub and sapling, mushroom, fallen flowers, fallen fruits are a very common food that Large-antlered Muntjac can find. However, to be able to find the food in the daytime or the nighttime is very challenging. They have to stay away from the natural predators who are very active in this time. The Muntjac have already evolved to adapt a special technique by moving its active time to another time frame that can help them stay away from the predators. All these curves here representing the level of activity that the Muntjac have in a day. The pink one on the top representing the male Muntjac, male adult, and the blue one representing the female adult. The peak of this curve indicating that the Muntjac is very active right after the sunrise and right before the sunset. The juvenile male in the velvet form at the bottom with the pink curve also showing the same characteristic. That's the reason why we just saw a fight between the adult male with a juvenile male in the velvet form, because it haven't learned how to stay away from this conflict yet. But by time, when its antler get hard, it will be able to learn to stay away from the most active time when the adult male is active. That is after the sunrise, and instead try to focus more on its activities right before the sunset when the adult male is less active. The Large-antlered Muntjac have many natural predators, including the tigers, a dove, and these lists are not exotic. However, all of these predators are already disappearing from the Annamites. This is because of illegal hunting. Nowadays, illegal hunting is still encroaching every corner of the forest at a very fast pace. And now the Muntjac is facing with a much bigger challenge. That is the snaring crisis. Hundreds of snares are set up in the forest followed it become a snare line. This snare line is constructed by multiple net fence constructed from the forest undergrowth and alternating with many snare gaps. At each snare gap, the snare loops were set up and ready, waiting for any prey to come. How the Large-antlered Muntjac respond to this snare line? Whether it can recognize it or not? The studies say that it is. It's wary toward the snare line by jumping over the snare fence or just jumping over the snare gap. However, this level of awareness very soon dropped down with time. The Samba and the Western Surround also show a very strong level of wariness toward the snare. However, the capture rate by the snare is much lower for these species. The Large Muntjac have the highest probability of capture by snare. That's the reason why, as long as the Large Muntjac enter into the snaring area, the animal will eventually be captured. That's a very unfortunate fate for this species. And this study is, the result of this study is a very clear evidence, or it's also a very clear explanation to why the large-antlered muntjac population has been declining so steeply in the last 35 years. Before 1990s, the large-antlered muntjac are common in most of the Annamite area. However, after 1990s, the large-antlered muntjac already shrink to so many different small and isolated populations that we can hardly to see on the map on the right anymore. The only two populations that we can still see nowadays is Annamite Mountains and the Consenama in Laos. They are still two reasonable populations. This is the reason why Large-antlered Muntjac is listed as the critically endangered in the IUCN Red List. Noteworthy, there is no captive population anywhere. This means that Large-antlered Muntjac is under threat every day in the forest. It's a very scary situation to be in. So how can we look into the future where we can still see the Large-antlered Muntjac survive in its habitat and be there with us on the earth? First, for sure, it's really important to protect the population in the wild very well. To be able to do that, we have to understand how the Muntjac movement will affect their susceptibility to the snare. This will give us the idea how many snare that we can left in the forest, that the Muntjac still be able to persist and reproduce. To be the only solution that the only solution for doing this is coloring and for capturing and coloring. And the captures is also giving the advantage to a successful conservation captive breeding program, because this is probably the last safeguard to save the Large-antlered Muntjac from extinction. However, in the areas where where intensive illegal hunting is happening, with making people thinking that capture means killing. That's a reason why we have been conducting a pilot study that can test for different capture methods to prove that capture can be for scientific research and wildlife management, which is the truth in many American countries and European countries for so many years. So in this study, we test the boma trap, and we're also using the sound that the hunter often use to call the muntjac toward them, to test whether we can have a chance to be in a close proximity to the muntjac. Therefore, we can just dodge the muntjac. The boma traps is basically an enclosure with a door trap, or a trap door, if I say it correctly. And this enclosure is enclosed by the net, which later we cover it with the vegetation. We will make it have a perfect camouflage. The inside of my trap still looks very natural. We didn't clean any vegetation in there to make the animal feel as comfortable as possible when it's entered into the trap. And inside the trap, we also have the song lick to attract any animal that's still looking for the sound. This is the result. We only get the first interaction between the male muntjac with the boma trap after 6 months. This first record were recorded during the rainy season, so the camera was very blurry. I tried my best here to make it look clearer, and I hope that you don't mind. The animals show a very high level of vigilance or awareness to the boma trap. And within the 6 months that when we leave the boma trap in the field, we just only record the males, which is surprising because we also should be able to record the female. Intensive hunting level in the area is probably the reason why. Maybe the female already been killed. So within this 6 months, we also record many other species working around the boma trap area or even inside the boma trap area. And to give you a break from my talk, we can have a look at how these wonderful creatures and the Annamites are. Also the sky rest object, the raging river everywhere in the next one. The raging river with the Eurasian rock. So with this video, I would like to say thank to Lulu Dan, the executive assistant of the Saola Foundation, who have been helping me putting all the footage together into this wonderful video. And we will see more video that made by Lulu later. So we have the problems, also another problem, because the animals seem to be very wary toward the boma trap. We think that we probably need to cover the trap much better in the future. And at the same time, the song didn't show any attraction to the wildlife, so we may use the lucerne in the future instead. We actually also got the record of the Eurasian white pig and the Cheriton in the Boma trap. Inside, within the Boma trap. As already mentioned, this area where we survey have a very intensive illegal hunting activities. That's a reason why it makes most of the muntjac in the area become very shy. And especially there's no female, then the sound testing is not possible. Here we have Mai trying to imitate the call that the hunter often make in the forest to attract the muntjac. And without Mai, we will not be able to do the testing. With that, it's really important to capture at sites with least impact by the hunting in the future. We will try our best to set up on the camera trap before conducting any capture so we can learn about the muntjac behavior and adjust the Boma trap accordingly. And this capture will need to be done very soon. For this simple story today, it were actually a lot of work have been done behind the scene. And in this slide, I would like to say thank to some important Saola Foundation member, including Hanoi. I will go from the corner top, the left corner top, and go down in the reverse clockwise circle. So Hanoi is the technical team leader, and Ole is the country program director. They have been helping me very much in the study about the impact of the snare on the large-antlered Muntjac. Below, we have also familiar pictures of the onkel and very beautiful smiles on the screen is from Mai and Somsai, who are the logistic team leader, and onkel and Mai is the animal tracker. Without their help in the study about testing different capture methods, I will not have an amazing trip to have many wonderful footage to be able to show in the story today. Other than that, I also want to shout out to Steve and Joel, who have been helping consult me with the study on the testing of different capture methods. And finally, Bundon in the picture with me is my technical assistant for the study on testing the capture method. Sorry, I should be able to put the name on here and I forgot. We're happy. I will try to do that in the future. For the capture testing study, to be able to find a good location to set up the Boma trap, and it's obviously we have to find a location where the large muntjac is still very active. That's a reason why the tracker from the Saola Foundation is very essential in this study. They help us to figure out where the area that the muntjac is still very active by tracking down the dung, the urine, and the tracks. They also be able telling us how the animal move in the area so we can decide a strategy how to set up the Boma trap in that area. For this study, it's actually very challenging for us to be able to track down where the active site of the muntjac because of intensive illegal hunting activities in the area. We have to move the campsite because the first campsite, it were intensive with the hunting that we hardly find any fresh site of the large-antlered Muntjac. At the second campsite, right on the first night, we can hear 7 gunshots in the nighttime. And we was very worried whether we can see any large-antlered Muntjac in the area. Luckily, the tracker already showed a lot of expertise in this work, and they find amazing place for us to set up the boma trap. And this video, also by Lulu, will show us how much the work ethic that we did in this capture testing study. Thank Lulu that I have the name of all important member in this capture testing study on this video. So you already see in the video, we did set up the camera traps both inside and outside the boma trap, as well as in the close proximity to the boma trap. That's the reason why we got on the footage to show you today in the story. About the study on the snaring impact, this is just a reminder of how the snare line looked like. Along this snare line, we set up many camera traps. 2 camera traps were set up on the opposite side of the snare line, looking at the snare. And we also set up the camera traps along the fence to be able to see any movement of the animal moving along the snare line. This setting of the camera trap is to make sure that when we see the animal enter into the snaring area, whether the animal will cross the snare gap. And when it's crossed the snare gap, whether it's really put the foot into the snare loop or not. And the snare loop here is a simulated one, it's not a real one, so the animal will not be captured. All of this snare line was constructed by a group of experienced but retired hunters that we found in our study from different villages and at different study sites. This is the picture showing a bit about how we set up the camera trap looking at the snare gap, and the snare fence is on both sides. And this is just a fun picture of how much food that we consume in the field, because this is very intensive work and we need a lot of rice or sticky rice. And we have the study happening in 3 study sites, including GNC National Park in Vietnam. And here we set up 101 camera traps along 269 meters of the snare line. And all the camera traps were left in the field for 47 trap nights. We also set up the camera this study in Nagai Namthang National Park and Konsinama Protected Area in Laos, where we have 305 cameras set up in Konsinama and 200 cameras in Nagai along larger than 1 kilometer of the snare line. We left the cameras there for a minimum of 120 trap nights in the site, at each site. Among all these sites, as you already know, Nagai Namthang and Konsinama still have a very reasonable population of Large-antlered Muntjac, so it's less challenging for us to find the Large-antlered Muntjac area to set up the snare line. However, in GNC National Park, it was really challenging because we don't have many of the Muntjac in the area. That's a reason why we have to conduct a preliminary study where we have to survey for all the suitable location habitat that we can find the species. The last record that we have of the Large-antlered Muntjac in GNC National Park is in 2019. Sorry, maybe I was incorrect, in 2007. That was a long time. And in our camera trap here, we recorded the Large-antlered Muntjac again after 10 years. This study is very unique and the first study ever to tell the story of how different species have different level of vulnerability to the snare. Many species are very on the another extreme spectrum of extinction, like the tiger, who already extinct in the Annamite. Many upcoming species may be on the edge of extinction by the snare, probably is the Saola, the Large-antlered Muntjac, and the Samba. We also have many other species who are on another spectrum that being more resilient to the snare, including the smaller muntjac like red muntjac or the Eurasian white pig and surround. We also conduct the study on the behavior ecologies between 2017 and December 2018, which is the base for where I got the story about the life of the Large-antlered Muntjac in this story. We get this story from 161 camera trap location and 2,290 camera occasions. Based on that, we can learn how the different kind of activities that a muntjac do in the forest and finally tell the story how it lives in the forest. These stories are actually being already going to be published in the Large-antlered Muntjac chapter in an upcoming book called Deer of the World. So the unique characteristic on the camera trap studies is that we have to spend a large amount of time sitting at the desk and manually recorded each behavior for different events on the camera. This work actually took me 4 to 5 months to finish and to get the final results. So from the story today, we already get some idea that the biodiversity, the Annamite biodiversity are at risk by intensive level of illegal hunting. This illegal hunting is fueled by illegal wildlife trade that happening intensively in the country and at the international level. For many inhabitants of the Annamites, including the Saola, who is much more rarer than the Large-antlered Muntjac, this risk is very worrisome. Therefore, we really need any high level of protection for both species. So any successful stories for the Large-antlered Muntjac will be also a bigger chance for saving the Saola from extinction. It's because any successful capture and coloring of the Muntjac will tell us of many lessons learned for how to capture the Saola in the future and how to do a successful captive breeding program for Saola. But in the long run, we still need to protect them in the wild. And if we can protect the Large-antlered Muntjac very well in the wild, we also have the better chance to save the Saola. Protecting the biodiversity is probably a very big task, but we actually can try to do it in a very small single task, like by protecting all the single species, we will have a higher chance of protecting the whole biodiversity system of the Annamite. With that, I would also love to acknowledge all of the organization have been supporting my work in the last for so many years. And without your support, I will not be able to make this study happen. And I also note that even though I note that there's also many big more team, a lot more people behind the scenes that I talked today, and I'm very grateful for all your work and support to make the work become very successful. With that, I'm really thankful for you all being here today and listening to my story, and I would love to take any question if you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Min. I think maybe unshare your screen and then we could switch to gallery view. Would be my recommendation for people viewing. And just thank you. That's just absolutely unbelievable how much knowledge you've built up on this species over the course of the last 10 years. So really fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm going to hand over to Lulu now. Lulu Deng is our executive assistant with the Saola Foundation. She's been with us for a few years now, and she's behind, I think as Min mentioned, some of the videos that were produced for this talk, and also our social media and the newsletters that go out. So at some point we'll put a link in the chat that you can find our various social media channels and see more of those incredible videos. So Lulu, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Hello, excellent talk, Min. So we have some questions. Lorraine asks, the results show that large antler muntjac are more sensitive to snares than samba and sero. What is your expectation where Saola falls on the scale? Can we assume that Saola are even more sensitive to snares?
Yes, when we already talk about, Saolas is very rare at the moment, and as the flagship species that Saola Foundation have been trying to look for the last individual that we can save them from extinction. Certainly, Saola is a much higher scale of sensitivity to the snare than Large-antlered Muntjac in this. And if we don't have any action soon, but I believe that we already have a lot of action at the moment by a lot of intensive effort by the Saola Foundation. So I hope that Saola will escape from extinction in the very near future.
Great. We also have a question by Arlene Johnson. They say, what more can NNTNP do to support your research and the protection of the large-antlered muntjac population in the park?
Thank Arlene about the question. It's actually very important to have the support from the Nagai Namton to support the study on the Large-antlered Muntjac with the capture and the coloring. Because the capture and coloring will help us to understand how we can keep the snaring level low in the forest, and to see what kind of snaring level that will help the Large-antlered Muntjac populations to be persist in the forest. And to be able to do that, I'm sure that they still need a lot of agreement from different related stakeholder and get them on the same page that can help me make this study, make the capture, make the coloring happen. Yeah, with that for now. I think that that's important to make that happen as soon as possible, because Nagai Namtan still have a wonderful area where we can capture the Large-antlered Muntjac, and it's much easier to capture the Large-antlered Muntjac in Nagai Namtan because of the terrain as well.
Great. And Tiffany Chen asks, who was the artist that painted the large-antlered muntjac in the presentation? It's so beautiful.
I would like to say thank to AI because I have been thinking that like I have so many beautiful picture of the Large-antlered Muntjac from the camera trap, whether I can really turn it into something very artistic. And Tiffany, I know that you are a wonderful artist and you can do that by yourself, but I can't. And so with the assistance from the AI, luckily I have some clay and I have some wonderful artists here. Well, thank you for that question.
Amazing. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Lorraine, I can't see that question.
So there's a question, if you scroll up, I think it got lost. I'm not sure it got answered by Queely, who was asking about, do you want me to read it out, Lulu?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I think it got lost in the string, so apologies for my pronunciation for this name, because I'm sure I'm getting it wrong. Queely, thank you, Min, for your amazing work, especially in the innovative capture testing study. I wonder if you successfully tested a capture method for large-antlered muntjac, and can the method be replicated for Saola? I'm really interested in that too, so yeah.
Yes, so if we be able to capture the Large-antlered Muntjac, so we know what are the steps, what are the procedure out there we need to do, and the kind of like habitat like in the Annamites. So there will be many lessons learned that what we can do to do a successful capture of the Saola if we find one. Is that what did I answer the question? For example, how we can looking for the active area where the Saola is, and in that active area, what we actually need to do to record the behavior of the Saola, that to make sure we can trap the Saola successfully. Just like on the step that we have been doing, searching for active area of Large-antlered Muntjac, building the bomber trap in a strategic area where the Large-antlered Muntjac will be attracted to, and what kind of bait we will use.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I think that's all the questions. Back to you, Lorraine.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And to everybody for joining us today. So this is today was the second in our winter seminar series, and in this series, just as a reminder, the theme, we're looking inwards, we're exploring the depth and the breadth of the work of the Saola Foundation. And just keep your eye out for the date to be announced quite soon of our next seminar. With 2 more to go. We're going to take a look at the incredible biodiversity of the Annamite Mountains through the lens of Rob Timmins, our technical director. And then we're also going to take a look at the incredible diversity that exists within our own team. Hearing again from some of our LOU team members for the final seminar. So I am going to hand over to Steve Burns, the chair of the Saola Foundation, to make some closing remarks. Steve.
Well, thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Min. What an awesome presentation today. That was just incredible. You know, during the time of the presentation, you were showing the video with all of the various animals walking by, and you know, I just kept looking at all of the comments from everyone who was watching to look at, you know, the magical animals just walking by, and they were walking by in this magical place. Magical places need help. They don't just happen by accident. And so what we're really hoping that you can do is some of your magic of your own. My wife and I just went on and made a donation this morning to the Saola Foundation. We hope that you will do the same, because all of this work does cost money. and we can't do it without your support. So we hope that you'll consider, if you're enjoying these types of presentations, going on, making a donation, and allowing these amazing people to continue to do this work to protect these magical animals that give us so much joy. Thank you, everybody. And thanks again, Minh. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you.